to the Black Friday sessions with your host LTK. I've got another exciting show for you guys. This is the show where I give you an overview of everything that is happening around the world, particularly in Africa. Make sure you stay tuned. We've got an exciting show today. We'll be talking about obviously what is happening in Israel and Palestine, and so many other exciting things that I think you guys should know about. Make sure to like and subscribe. And at the end of the show, I'm going to leave you guys with a quote that should get you informed and just keep you on your toes, and hopefully encourage you guys to keep on watching such type of episodes and shows. Let's start off by talking about what is happening in Israel. So last week I gave you guys an overview of the background, basically, of the conflict that is currently happening in Israel and Palestine, and it's so sad that we have seen a rise in the deaths of people from both sides, and especially since the deaths are also involving civilians, which is very sad. We continue sending them our healing energies. We continue sending them our well wishes, and we hope that both parties would reach a consensus soon. And like I said, you might be on the left side or on the right side, on whichever side that you may be on. But at the end of the day, we all belong to the human race, and we are on the side of the human race. Let peace prevail. Let love prevail. So I think all news outlets are reporting basically on what's happening in Israel. But I think as regards to Africa, a lot of African countries are making arrangements to make sure they bring everybody back home. So you have countries like Zambia, which recently has, arranged that about 77 people who were still in Israel head back to Zambia. Other African countries are still waiting to monitor the situation to see whether there is need to invest in bringing the people back home, or they should wait a little longer. Well, I personally think that in such a situation, each country should definitely, be responsive and send help to make sure that all their people are returned back to their countries. There's no need to wait because the situation is scaling up day by day. But then, we have other African countries that, are still waiting to monitor the situation. Most of the times, it's usually an issue of resource constraints, that they do not really have, the physical capacity to respond immediately. But for me, I would regard this as an emergency, and I feel like waiting, to see how the situation goes is not really the best move to play. I don't mean to sound pessimistic. I really hope that the situation will be resolved as soon as possible. But with what we're seeing now, I believe that governments should respond as soon as possible. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think that we should, countries should wait a bit before, making arrangements for their people to go back to their country? Or should they do it with immediate effect? I'm of the view that they should do it with immediate effect. So yeah, that's basically the update that is happening from the Middle East, and we continue, like I said, sending them, healing energy and hoping that peace will reign and will prevail. If you still are not sure about what is happening in the Middle East, make sure you go back and watch my video from my episode from last week, where I gave a breakdown or an overview of the genesis of this whole conflict, so that you make sure that you stay in tune with all the other developments that are going to happen, as time progresses. And in other news, the ICC has dropped charges. The ICC is the International Criminal Court. Has this week dropped all charges that it had against Maxim Macomb, who has been in custody. Since last year March. So, the ICC has been blamed by many people as a tool that has been used by the West to make sure that they prosecute African leaders, because most of the people who have been persecuted and tried at the ICC were African leaders. And recently we've got news of the ex-militia leader of the Central African Republic, saying that they are dropping all charges against him. Now, it's a legal issue, so I guess in the court of law, it depends on what you present or how best you present your case, whether you win or not. So whether, I'm not saying he's guilty, and I'm not saying he's not guilty, but in the court of law, evidence is what helps you carry the day or not. And this ex-militia leader was, charged with a number of crimes, including, issues of rape, and issues of murder, and so many different such issues that happen during social disorganization or social uprising, and because witnesses failed to show up and did not, the other side was not able to produce enough evidence, then the case has been dismissed. So yeah, that's the update from the International Criminal Court. So some people may feel like they're not been dealt fair, others may feel that they've been dealt fairly, but at the end of the day, it all boils down to the type of evidence that has been produced. So yeah, and most of the times when warlords and all these other people committed crimes in Africa, prosecuted in the ICC, they end up going, to fancy prisons in Europe and the like. Some people are of the view that, these people should, be sent to, their prisons in their countries. Of course, the fear might be maybe, sometimes there might be corruption in the countries where they're from, or they may be killed or whatever. But I feel like these people who engage in such inhumane acts need to really face the full arm of the law. Of course, after they've been found guilty, by a competent court, in this case the ICC. So when cases like this, are thrown out of courts, it's a bit discouraging. Think about the victims and the like. Again, I'm not saying he's guilty, I'm not saying he's not guilty. All I'm saying is that, if people have been involved in such inhumane acts, they need to face the full force of the law. Another story that was trending this week is the story of the late Ashad Sharif. If you recall, last year around October, a journalist was shot by the local Kenyan police, and he was a Pakistani journalist, the police came out and said it was a case of mistaken identity and he was accidentally shot. Well, the widow to the late journalist is now suing Kenya's government, for the assassination of her husband. She believes that the guy was assassinated. So that's a story that just popped up this past week. We'll be following the story as it goes, and next week we'll be giving you updates on the rest of the story. Still in news happening around this part of Africa. Good news coming from the warm heart of Africa, Malawi, which is my country. So today actually is Friday, and there's the first ever harvest of a Malawian developed heat-resistant wheat variety. This has been, it's been in the pipeline for some time, and today finally they're kicking off the harvest of wheat, which is great because when the Ukraine-Russia war broke out, it led to a wheat shortage around the world, which led to the rise in prices of commodities, particularly bread. So with the introduction of wheat grown in Malawi, then I think then we'll be able to produce our own bread using our own wheat, and that will help control the inflation as far as the cost of bread and other wheat related products goes. And Egypt is also a huge importer of wheat because their staple food is bread. So if we can scale up, we can even export to countries like Egypt. So I think that's something that's positive and a plus. On this platform we promote positivity, so when we come across good news like this, we just want to shine a light on it and amplify it, make sure that at least we're also spreading good news. And still talking about good news, Malawi also won the COSAFA Women's Cup. This tournament is something that I introduced as well in last week's video. I mentioned to say that the COSAFA Women's Championship is ongoing in South Africa at the time, and Malawi won the cup after beating Zambia 2-1. I think it's a huge congratulations to them. But Now, the reason why this issue has also been trending, apart from the win, one of the football players appealed to government, saying that because of their win, they need to be the government should build each one of the players a house. And now that's something that I just wanted to bring out to you guys, and get your thoughts, get your views. What do you think? Do you think this is some form of entitlement, or do these ladies really deserve to get a house, to get each player a house built? So the COSAFA Cup this year did not have a huge sponsorship, so there's no really prize money for the main team that won, allegedly. So I think it was the president who offered each player and members of the technical panel a piece of land and gave them also money. But one of the players came out and said, in addition to all that, they also need a house built. So now other people are saying that no, that's just entitlement. There's no really need for government expenditure to build each one of you guys a house. Other people are saying that these girls have brought a trophy home. It's a very rare sight. Our main national team doesn't do it, so we should go ahead and do it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I personally think that a house is a bit too much. Congratulations to them. I'm not taking anything away from their win, but I feel like a house, each player to be built a house, is a little bit on the extreme end. Looking at the costs that are involved in building houses, and for a trophy, I really think it's not a good idea. I think what they've been given is enough, or maybe they can even be given more, but really building a house for each one of them, I really think it's not a good idea. But anyway, that's just my opinion. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Should each player of the Scorchers, which is Malawi's main female football team, be built a house? Still talking about football, today, Friday, the 20th of October, is also the kickoff of the African Football League. The African Football League is currently being played, going to be played in Tanzania rather, and there are 8 teams. So the African Football League this is the first ever edition of the league. Federation of African Football, otherwise known as CAF, organized this African Football League, and it's selected 8 teams to play in the league. These are supposed to be the best 8 teams across the country. We have Simba from Tanzania rather, which is the host country. We have I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly. This is a team from Egypt. We have TP Mazembe, which is a team from Congo. We have East Tunis, which is a team from Tunisia. We have Petroda de Luanda, the team from Angola. Melody Sundowns from South Africa. Inimba, that's from Nigeria, and Wydad AC from Morocco. So these 8 teams rather, from these various countries are going to battle it out, and the prize, the winner will walk away with a cool $4 million. So it's the first ever edition of this tournament, and I really am looking forward to how it's going to pan out, and we'll report on it in the next episodes. So yeah, that's basically a roundup of some of the highlights of the news happening around Africa. Let me know in the comments what type of news you guys would like me to cover, or if there's any topic that I left out. Of course, there's also other news happening around African countries that I deliberately did not cover because we've just started the show and we have not really addressed some of the issues. So for instance, the coups that have been happening around Africa, I feel like I should first address give sort of a background and the genesis of the coups and an update, and then I can update you on what's happening. I feel like if I update you now, it'll be like just starting in the middle of nowhere. So in the next episode, next week, I'm going to give you an overview of all the coups that have been happening around Africa, and then the subsequent updates. So yeah, that's basically it. But before we go, I just want to, like I said, we want to make sure that we give people knowledge. When you leave, the show, you have picked up 1 or 2 things, not only on current affairs, but even historically, things that affect us as a black people. So in an effort to do that, today I'm going to be talking about the whistle walk. Have you ever heard of the whistle walk? If not, then I'm going to define it for you. The whistle walk was basically a strategy that was devised by slave owners and slave masters, directing their slaves to make sure that, there were tendencies sometimes of slaves to eat the master's food or spit into the master's food, because of the treatment they were receiving and the like. So they developed this system that every time they're carrying food from the kitchen to the master's table, they should whistle all along the way. So when you whistle, it's hard for you to spit or to eat. So once they hear you stop whistling, then you're going to be in trouble with the law. So the whistle walk was required for the slaves, so that they don't spit in the master's food. So that's a little nugget of historic information that maybe you might have not known. I think with the rest of the episodes, we'll be able to give you an update of news happening around the world, and maybe one or two things that happened historically, so that you're just well aware of what happened in the past, especially as regards to people of color, black people, Africans. The whole aim of this show is to make sure that I keep you guys educated, not only on what's happening, but also on what happened to us as African people. And on that note, I'd like to end this show with the African proverb that goes like this: until the lions have their historians, tales of the hunt always glorify the hunter. This is a very popular saying. It's said and paraphrased in many different ways, but today's saying is coming out as it is: until the lions have their historians, tales of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. So to me, in this context, basically, it goes to show that, it's very important that when we're studying history, we get two sides of the story. Every time that, we're studying history and only get one side of the story, one other side is always going to be, their story is always going to be left out. So it's very important that the story of the lions is always told alongside the story of the hunter, so that the reader can judge. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for staying till this very end. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share to the channel. I'll see you guys next week with another exciting episode of the Black Friday session. Again, peace in the Middle East. Wishing you guys all the best as you go on and conquer your day, and enjoy the rest of the weekend. Peace.